of the department. This fiscal year, I think they've excelled at adhering to our mission statement. As you know, a big part of our operation is adhering to the consent decree. So the next 20 or so slides will be specifically covering this 15-year agreement and the progress. So the consent decree is a court-approved agreement. The agreement is between multiple parties: the U.S. EPA, the Department of Justice, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, and the City of Corpus Christi. In fact, all communication and official reporting regarding the consent decree is distributed to all of those parties. The requirements of the consent decree are meant to achieve full compliance with the Clean Water Act and the Texas Water Code, prevent sanitary sewer overflows. We refer to those as SSOs. You'll see that multiple times in the next couple of slides. Prioritize response to any spills caused by contractors, wastewater spills, and SSOs. To upgrade, operate, and maintain the wastewater collection system, and to update, operate, and maintain the wastewater treatment plants. This includes adhering to our Texas pollutant discharge elimination system. Sometimes you'll hear that referred to as the TPDES permit. One of the things, just a side note about the consent decree is a formal agreement basically to ensure that the city is maintaining and upgrading its wastewater system. That is the summary of the slide here. It's a agreement to make sure that we continue to maintain and upgrade our system, and it provides tracking and metrics to make sure that's being done over the length of the agreement, which again is 15 years. So when you look at the agreement, we've got it detailed here on slide 7. And the agreement started January of 2021. That's when it was officially signed. The agreement will end in 2036. You can see the beginning of the consent decree is heavily focused on condition assessment. So assessing the system, identifying where the problems are, and then as you get through that first part of the consent decree, you start moving into the remediation measures, and you start dealing with large capacity constraint projects, which are all shown in our capital improvement plan. The one thing I do want to note is that it does provide metrics for cleaning. There are priority areas listed in the consent decree, and we have to maintain and clean those areas as shown on this chart. The other key note is after that 15-year agreement, it doesn't mean we stop cleaning and inspecting and maintaining our system. It just means that the formal metrics and reporting to the TCEQ, the EPA, and the Department of Justice is over with. In fact, we have a document that guides our operations currently and after the consent decree is over. That is the Capacity Management Operations and Maintenance Plan. We refer to that as the CMOM. You'll see that a couple of times in this presentation as well. So that CMOM document is submitted to the TCEQ. In fact, it was updated this year and submitted as part of our annual report. That document governs both current operations and also future operations beyond the 15-year consent decree. If we could, I'd like to talk a little bit about work completed to date. And in fact, the team did a great job. We looked at the work that is done per district. We thought you'd be of interest to that. So we have the district, each of the 5 districts on the left, and then miles of CCTV complete. That's closed caption television, so it's a video survey of the water collection, or the wastewater collection systems. And then we have the miles of pending video inspections required, the number of completed repairs, the miles of pipe replacement that have been completed, and the miles of pipe replacement in process. You can't look at each district on an even basis because some of the districts have newer infrastructure, and per the consent decree, that's categorized as a performing asset in good condition. So when you look at replacement, those districts would have less replacement. The districts with the older infrastructure, you'll see much more replacement in these totals. Wastewater manholes, we have approximately 20,000 wastewater manholes in the city, and we have a large number of historic brick manholes within the city. Those brick manholes fail over time and they need to be repaired. So you can see the number of manholes, this is again per district, the number of manholes inspected, the number of manholes remediated, and the number of manholes pending remediation. The picture on the top right is a manhole that of course requires remediation. We would call that a failed manhole. And then after remediation, the picture on the bottom right, it looks much more pleasing and certainly a definite upgrade. I am pleased to present that the manhole rehabilitation is done both by our CCW crews and also by contractors as well. We've gotten a lot of this work done because of the work of the CCW crews and the additions made previously by this council, additions in employees. Now, if we look at just the wastewater service line issues reported, we've divided this per year, but also per a city asset and per a customer asset. So when there is a service line issue reported, we will send out, we have what we call a first responder team. They will evaluate the situation. Sometimes there are issues found on the customer asset side, and the customer is required to handle that with their own plumber. And then there is also issues found on the city side. As you can see, since 2018, there's been a steady decrease in issues reported. We're proud of that. We continue to move in the right direction. Sanitary sewer overflows, those are the SSOs that we talk a lot about. As you can see, since 2018, we've generally seen a decline in sanitary sewer overflows. In fact, earlier than 2018, those overflows were much higher than and much greater, which is one of the primary reasons why the consent decree was even issued. But you can see for 2025, we had a low of 36. And I should back up, the consent decree is calendar year. So the reporting for the consent decree is done on an annual basis. All of these numbers are calendar year. Unlike the city operations, we typically look at fiscal year, but because of the reporting for the consent decree, it's calendar year. As I stated earlier, the consent decree has a number of targets. These are and metrics that we have to complete. And initially in the consent decree, it's assessment heavy, as you can see that. So if you look at the force mains inspected, we've reached 100% of our goal. All of the force mains have been inspected. That's 138. ARVs, that is an air relief valve. That's a key component on a wastewater system, and it certainly is a failure point. So it is important to inspect those ARVs and then maintain and replace them as needed. So all 244 ARVs in the system have been inspected. The lift stations have been inspected. So at the time of the consent decree, there were 102 lift stations within our system. And so the consent decree required the inspection of all 102 of those. Lift stations added after the consent decree are, of course, also inspected, but they are not reported under the consent decree. The inspections are all done under the governing of that CMOM document or operations plan. Large diameter manhole inspections, 682. So those were identified manholes that we were supposed to inspect as per the consent decree. And then we have small diameter manhole inspections, and then the miles of video survey or closed caption TV and both inspection and cleaning that we have performed. That's 451 miles. And excuse me, I just noticed I said closed captions, closed circuit TV. Sorry about that. I should have another cup of coffee. Targets that are in progress per the consent decree are the cleaning of our large diameter mains. So we've completed 9.5 miles of that, remaining are 1.9 miles. Small diameter manhole inspections, we've completed 4,929, and we have 5,280 remaining. And then small diameter cleaning, we still have 303 miles left to do of the small diameter cleaning and video assessment of the closed circuit television inspections. Reporting, the consent decree does have a high level of reporting and analysis. That's the key component. The regulatory agencies wants to make sure that we are fulfilling what we agreed to do. Each year there is an annual report that is to be submitted. Additionally to that, there are additional reports as well. Those include capacity constraint assessments, remediation efforts. To date, we have submitted 8 reports associated with the consent decree, and we've shown them all here. I know the slide looks a little, it's not very exciting, but to me, this is my favorite slide in the presentation because this signifies all the work that we have done. And all of these reports are prepared and submitted in-house by Corpus Christi water staff. So one thing that this council has asked us to look into, especially because of the advancement we made in achieving these metrics, and that is to request removal from the consent decree. So we did, in September 23rd, 2025, we did request dismissal from the consent decree. On December 9th, 2025, the response came from the Department of Justice, and they stated that the agreement is to remain in full effect over the 15-year period. And that's not uncommon. I'm not aware of any municipality that has been able to dismiss this consent decree early. Some of this I mentioned earlier, and it has to do with just our plan and approach for managing the system. As I said, the consent decree is a 15-year agreement. It would end in 2036, but how do we manage assets that aren't in the consent decree, that were new, and how do we manage assets after the consent decree? And that's through the capacity management, operations, and maintenance plan. This is an example. This is the updated plan. Again, we updated it this year, and that was sent along with our annual report to the EPA, TCQ, and Department of Justice. One thing to note is the CMOM does not contradict the consent decree. All of the consent decree recommendations are in the CMOM in terms of inspection and cleaning and maintenance. The CMOM does go a little bit above and beyond and gets a little more specific on things that are important to our environment. I mentioned air relief valves and the importance of inspecting those regularly, primarily because of the corrosive environment we're in. But if you look at this slide, we've done a lot of work, but there's a lot of assets in this system that are critical assets but will need and continue to be replaced. So the miles of clay or cast iron gravity mains, so that is material for the mains that's not PVC or HDPE. There's 793 in the system. By the end of the consent decree, we're estimating that we will have replaced 123 miles of that. That couple of things, that doesn't mean the 793 is not performing, but it means that they are older assets, and of course we know the clay pipe in our clay soil that expands and contracts, it does fail on various occasions. So I'm trying to stress the importance of continuing with the CMOM plan because we know we have assets that we must continue to replace. Additionally, with brick manholes, there's 13,924 in our system. That's of the 25,000 or so. By the end of the consent decree, we will have remediated or replaced about 2,600 of those. That means there's still 11,200 brick manholes in the system that the CCW staff will have to continue to inspect and remediate as needed. Would like to talk more about costs associated with the consent decree over the next couple of slides. This can be a challenging topic because my opinion is that every aspect of the wastewater operational and capital budget is associated with the consent decree. The full budget affects and is related to the consent decree. That's because the consent decree is just a method to ensure we're operating and maintaining our system. However, the consent decree does put together specific aspects and requirements which helped the city staff determine some estimated costs associated directly with the consent decree. So what we've done is we've listed explicit and implicit cost. So an explicit cost with a consent decree is something that is expressed literally in the consent decree. It's identified specifically in the consent decree. Implicit cost, which is just the operation and maintenance of our wastewater system, that is listed as well. Again, if we don't maintain our system, we will get fined under the consent decree. That is why the proper upgrade and maintenance of our wastewater treatment plants is definitely considered an implicit cost to the consent decree. So the specific or explicit costs of the consent decree, that is costs associated with the inspection of the wastewater system, those CCTV inspections that we talked about, the wastewater collection, the repairs of major maintenance systems. Additionally, there were two specific capital projects that were listed in the consent decree. There were only two that they said that we needed to complete, and that was the Laguna Shores force main replacement and the McBride lift station. Additionally, it calls for replacing a portion of our non-performing assets, and we do that through our wastewater IDIQ contracts. Typically, the primary method to do that is a method called pipe bursting, where we replace the clay pipe and replace it with PVC and HDPE pipe. Again, the implicit cost, this is essentially the remaining wastewater budget. It's the operation of our wastewater treatment plants, the chemicals associated with it, the electrical, the upgrade, the operating personnel, the lift station operation and maintenance. As you know, we have well over 100 lift stations. The pre-treatment of our wastewater, that is our group at CCW that looks at both restaurants and customers like STX Beef to make sure their discharges are compliant and our wastewater treatment plants can treat the waste as efficiently as possible. The capital projects, the upgrades to all of our plants, upgrades to lift stations, and then of course capacity constraint projects. We have a number of large capacity constraint remediation projects that are in our capital plan. Specifically and notably is the Blucher Park area, which is good. That has historically been an SSO problem. That will be a very large capital project to address the capacity constraint. And then also the Hewitt and Santa Fe area. That is another large multi-phase project in our capital plan. So if you look at the explicit cost to date, we've listed it per the start of the consent decree. And the current cost to date is $109,915,000. And excuse me, this is the capital projects. I do want to back up. I want to make that clear. This is the capital projects. So remember, there were 2 capital projects specifically listed in the consent decree, and then there were other projects such as pipe bursting under our wastewater IDIQ contract. Those projects comprise that $109 million. Now, over that time, we've also invested, with council approval, additionally into our system in an effort to make sure that we continue to meet the requirements of the TCQ, the EPA, and the Department of Justice, and avoid any potential fines. The remaining capital budget is $544 million over that time. The next slide is our annual operations budget. Now that is broken up into explicit and implicit, but it's also broken down a little further into operational expense and then the debt service coverage. So you can see the consent decree explicit or specific costs operationally over this time period is approximately $91.4 million. The debt payment associated with those consent decree specific projects was $2.6 million. Now the remaining budget for the wastewater is, over that same period, is $290 million, and then the debt payment coverage $13.1 million. And remember, I submit and maintain that every aspect of the wastewater budget is in fact associated with the consent decree. This slide just breaks it down in a little more detail. The news I'd like to share, this is my next favorite slide of the day, is the savings attributed to self-performance by city and CCW crews. So what we've done is we've looked at each of these categories, some high-level topics of work performed and the quantity of the work. We have the CCW actual costs listed there, and then we utilize the work and the quantity and estimated contractor and or professional services to complete the same amount of work. The numbers used in those estimates are the numbers in our IDIQ contract, so we have high level of confidence because those are low bid numbers that we have received. And then the category on the far right is the estimated savings that the city has benefited from as a part of self-performance. To date, it's approximately $63.4 million of savings attributed, with CCW crews self-performing the work as opposed to contractors. The contractor portion is key to all of our operations. There are portions of the work that our crews, we don't have the equipment and we don't have specific experience to handle that. So to get all this work done, we have to do a combination of contractor work and self-performance. What I'm proud to show you today is that CCW looks at the work under a good microscope, determines what it can do in-house to do it more cost effectively, and then the remaining work that has to get done, we utilize our local contractors to get that done. The other item I would like to point out is the last one on the table, consent decree administration. It is not uncommon for a municipality to hire out a consulting engineer to completely run the consent decree program. That's done in many cities in the state of Texas. CCW manages and tracks and also prepares all of those reports in-house, which has saved us quite a bit of consulting fees and professional fees. So that is a large chunk, in my opinion, of that savings. The reason we're able to complete this savings on this slide is because of the employee enhancements that council has previously approved in the onset of the consent decree. So where does that leave us? Early in 2020, there was a presentation made to council that shows the wastewater rate impact of the consent decree. That's that top dark blue line. And again, these were high-end, high-level estimates just to give the council at that time a view of where the wastewater rates could go. As you can see, throughout the course of the consent decree, we've continued to be lower than those original estimates in terms of wastewater rates. And Andy McCartney and Camille will go into it later on the specific wastewater rates, but this is a good snapshot of how you can see that the savings from self-performance and proper management, CCW has done its best to keep these rates as low as possible by still achieving the metrics and goals of the consent decree. And Mayor, that concludes the consent decree portion of the presentation.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for the presentation. I have a quick question on the, that's impressive, the 63.4, excuse me, the savings, the 63.4 million in savings. And I guess I'm wondering if we have these savings, can you walk us through where those dollars more effectively, where more effectively have they gone? So this is great news, but how does that impact? Is it operations? Is it capital projects? Does it reduce the rate pressure? Or how do those savings impact overall operations?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the key things that we talk about is how our operations budget in both water and wastewater continue to, they do increase, but overall the operations budget is below the consumer price index for utilities. And so that's a good thing. So these savings allows us to hire less professional consultants and less contractors. That helps us keep that operations budget as low as possible, which in turn affects the wastewater rates.
So it does affect that, the rate?
Yeah, it helps keep them as low as possible, and it helps keep any increases minimal as compared to what could be if the work wasn't being self-performed.
Okay, and the other question I had on page 15, the removal of the consent decree. Thank you for giving us this information in terms of the request that the city did make in 2025. But what is the status today of the letter that you included on this slide from State Representative Villalobos? Did y'all meet with her?
So
What is
the state representative, her focus was on the agreed order, which it relates to the releases over the Cal Allen Barrier Dam. It is different than the consent decree.
Yes, my mistake. I glanced at this letter and was thinking that was hers. That's a whole different thing. Thank you. Okay, I think we move on to Public Utilities Commission update, correct?
Yes, that would be the next step on the presentation. I'd like to give everyone an update. One second here. If we could move to the next slide, I'm having issues with the clicker. I had issues last night as well, so I apologize. It must be something I'm doing at the community session. Oh, but you know what? They're rebooting the presentation.
Mayor, can I ask a quick question while we're pausing? Can you hear me?
Yes.
So earlier, at the beginning, you mentioned, one of the problems that we have by the Nueces River and Cal Allen is that we've had some backflow in terms of when we have a storm surge and we're getting sewage backflow. I know that that's on the list to be worked on. Um, but can you give us any insight in terms of how long you think it's going to take before we actually get to that project? Because there is some concern because the proximity of the Nueces River being right by those homes that have that backflow.
Yes, sir, Councilman. I apologize. And that's an excellent point. So as we know, the majority of our water supply, or large portion of our water supply, and gets to the Owen Stevens water plant through the Nueces River. There are a
Right.
number of homes along the river that utilize septic systems. And we do know over time, there has been releases into the river because of overflows or backflows, like the councilman says, from those septic systems.
Well, this isn't a septic system. This is actually our sewage system. And I spoke to Ernie about it, and he says that but the problem is that when we get a large storm surge, then what do you call it? The clean out drains and that, they actually are blowing the lids off of that. And then it's possibly getting into the fear is that it's because of the proximity, it could be getting into the river.
Okay, yeah, I understand. I apologize, I misunderstood the question. So you're absolutely correct. So homes typically all have what's called a clean out. That allows for a plumber to go in and clean out that line leading from the house into the wastewater gravity line. Many times those clean out caps are damaged, they're hit by lawnmowers, they're run over, people don't know what they are. They may take them off to put other things down that drain. When all of that happens, when we see heavy rainfall like the councilman says, that rain goes into our wastewater system. And the influx of all of that water can add to backups and can add to untreated wastewater, potentially getting in the stormwater system and potentially getting into any of the nearby bodies of water. So one thing that the staff has worked on tremendously is education in terms of educating our residential community on the importance of clean out caps, but also the importance of fats, oils, and greases. All of those inputted into the collection system can add backups either at your home or elsewhere in the system. To specifically answer your question, Councilman, to eliminate that problem from happening has to be continued education of our residential community, and it also has to be upgrade with our system in terms of making sure that the assets in the system are performing so that they can handle just in case any of these situations would arise. All of that's a lot of work. There's probably 120,000 cleanouts within the city of Corpus Christi. The best thing we can do is educate our residents to make sure that when they see them, they properly cap and cover them.
Yeah, you might want to just get with Ernie because I understand what you're saying. What I'm talking about is our system, our sewer system. They're saying is that there's an issue with it, which is actually causing the problem to backflow into our consumers' homes. So we can talk about that some other time. I just want to make sure that that project, and Ernie's familiar with the project, is on the, when we're going to get that done, sooner better than later.
Well, you're right. I would state that entire project is the consent decree. So it's a lot of work. We address the problem issues within the system systematically, and then we will continue to see benefits as we progress through the metrics of this consent decree.
Thank you.
And Councilman, I will follow up directly with Ernie, and then I will circle back with you just to make sure I fully answer all of your questions.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Hernandez.
Okay, I think a lot of what they're talking about is intrusion into the wastewater system from stormwater. And I know for the Broadway plant, we had some saltwater intrusion in there, and they have higher chloride levels at Broadway. So I'm assuming that a lot has to do with the clay pipe in the wastewater system that allows that to intrude into the system. How much of that has been reduced with the consent decree program? Or maybe that's a question for Wes.
Yeah, and I am going to call Wes up to provide some more details on that, Councilman. So when you talk about intrusion into the wastewater system, it's a number of ways. One, it's open clean-out caps. It's broken clay pipes, like you said, that'll allow that groundwater to get into the collection system. It's manholes that are in poor condition. And remember, within our city, there's some very high groundwater levels. So any breach into the system will just allow that groundwater, that high saltier water, to get into our system. And then that, again, results in what we're treating at the wastewater treatment plants. And I am going to ask Wes Nebgen, our director, to come up and maybe provide a little more specifics for you.
Good afternoon, Wesley Nebgen, Director, Water Systems Infrastructure. So to answer your question, with the consent decree, there are several areas that we have seen vast improvements. Broadway, especially being one of them, we can measure that based on the salinity levels that we've seen. Broadway, 2 years ago, had about 8,000 parts per million of salinity TDS that was coming into the plant. As of recently, the most recent numbers that we see, it's about 2,000 to 3,000 now. So we have done enough, we've done so much work that we've actually brought that down about 5,000 parts per million on that. We are continuing to work to lower that even more through what Nick was talking about. Smoke testing is one of our most effective methods that we do that. Essentially, we inject smoke into the system. If we find areas where clean out caps are missing, manhole lids are compromised, things like that, the smoke you'll see it. It's fairly obvious. So that's one of the things we do internally, and we also have a contract to do that as well. We're doing that across many basins in the city. The other areas that we have seen a real reduction, Whitecap has some of the same issues. It's a measurable reduction out there when you start looking at it. We have reduced the flows. We were at around 1.6 to 1.7 million gallons a day. We did several what I call nighttime evaluations when flows are supposed to be lower in residential areas. We were able to find inflows without even televising, going through and televising the cameras just based on higher than normal flows that you would see. And then we went and televised them, and we were able to reduce that by about 3.3 MGD a day going to that plant, just from doing those type of actions. The rest of the systems, when you're talking about the Oso Basin, areas like that, you don't see this reduction in flows. It's really a reduction in SSOs. That's what you want to look at to see this, if your program is being successful. And I think if you look at the trend over time, especially from, which isn't shown on there, from 2015 to currently, we do see that. Systems are not, it's not like a water system. It's not a pressurized system that water does not get into. It's designed to actually vent. The systems are, it's open, it's a gravity system. You will have some water intrusion into these systems. They are designed at a certain rain event threshold. Right now, what ours is designed to is between 2.5 and a 5-year flood event. And we are improving that with some of these improvements that we're seeing.
Okay, the reason I bring that up is because we had a lot of saltwater intrusion at Broadway. We even had to change the paddles on the clarifiers to a higher gauge of metal because the other ones were corroding.
They weren't installed correctly. They used the wrong stainless on those. You're going to see that regardless, just due to the H2S as well. The H2S is actually more detrimental to that than the
hydrogen sulfur?
Yes.
Sulfuric acid?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to say what it was. So
No, understood. Yes, sir.
Okay, and then the amount, so how much of our wastewater, I mean, if we get the amount of water intrusion from whether it's stormwater or groundwater, whatever, how much of that is that we are treating as a percentage of wastewater that's being?
That's a really hard number. That's not a number I can really come up with. You would have to have a study probably to come in. We do have a hydraulic model for each basin that, for the different rainfall events, that I can get you that information. I don't have that directly here, but we can look at what the increase is per the intensity of the rainfall event. Several factors when you talk about intrusion like that. Number one, tidal influence affects it so much here. Depends on the height of the tide, how long the tide is up. And then a rainfall event, you might have 2 inches over 2 hours, it won't affect the system. But if you get 2 inches over 30 minutes, where you really have that influx of rain and you have that street flooding and things like that, that's where you will see it inundate a wastewater system.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Vaughn.
Councilman Roy, thanks for bringing that up, because that is a concern. I would argue with y'all that it is not the cleanout systems at Cal Allen, it's the pipes. We have people down the road from us, not on my side of the road, that their house floods. It comes in, it overflows. So to me, 3 or 4 houses in a row, all of them are dirty, it's their cleanout systems. I don't think so, Nick. How old are those pipes out there?
In the Cal Allen area?
Wood River specifically, because that's where I know that they have flooding. They overflow into their homes. It's disgusting.
So one of the things when you think about, and I wish I had a slide to show this, when you're talking about water, what Nick was saying is the cleanouts themselves, the individual cleanouts at an individual home is not the problem. It's when you have a lot of cleanouts, and it could be downstream or upstream. What it does is allow all of that water that the system is not designed to handle to come into the system. When that happens, it backs the pipes up. So if you're at the lowest point in that system, that's where the wastewater is going to come out. Typically, wastewater systems are designed, the manholes and areas like that are designed at the lowest point in the system. Corpus Christi has areas of the city that when it was built, especially older parts of the city, they are lower than what even some of the manholes are. So when the wastewater does back up, when it is inundated, it will back up towards the home and before it comes out of or gets to the wastewater treatment plant. It's called a hydraulic grade line, and that's what you're seeing happen. But it is from an influx of water, and it's not just cleanouts. I agree. It's not just cleanouts from residential. It's like Nick said. It's water infiltration from manholes. It's water infiltration for everywhere. But even if the city fixes all of the issues that we have in our system, we have to ensure that we have good communication with homeowners, because that water, it only takes, half a dozen cleanouts being open, water actively flowing in there to inundate a wastewater line.
And I get that. But we did say that we need to educate them because of the cleanouts. So we did blame it on that as well. And so it's a combination.
Yes,
My
ma'am.
question is, what are we going to do about it? When are we going to do something out in that area to take care of that? Because that is a huge problem.
We already are. If you look at the Allison wastewater treatment plant, there's actually a couple of CIP projects that are upsizing a line. There's a 27-inch line that goes into the Allison wastewater treatment plant. That's on the CIP to upsize that. There are several lift station improvements in the area as well that will help with that. And then just the continual smoke testing and everything else we're doing. But it is, again, it's we all have to be a team working on this. So even with these improvements, just upsizing the pipe, going from a 27-inch to a 30 to a 36, it can still get inundated if too much water gets into it. It basically is more storage. It allows you to hold more. But if you still have problems in the system, it will eventually cause overflow.
We clearly have a problem out there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Let's move on to the PUC update.
Okay, so I'd like to discuss the Public Utilities Commission update. We just completed our hearing this week, is actually completed Tuesday morning, about 11 or so o'clock, just ahead of our council meeting. So First, though, I do want to back up. I'll give you a little bit of history. So the outside city limits ratepayers filed a PUC, Public Utilities Commission complaint against the city of Corpus Christi, basically explaining that the established water rates were not done fairly, and they're seeking a correction to that rate. On March 16th, witnesses for these outside city limit ratepayers filed direct testimony collectively proposing adjustments of $39.9 million in 2024 and $36.8 million in 2025. On May 1st and May 8th, the Public Utilities Commission staff filed testimony recommending the judge an adjustment of $6.4 million to the 2024 rates and no adjustment to the 2025 rates. The hearing was originally scheduled to take place in June. The outside city limits contingent asked for that hearing to be postponed until just this week, and this week it was completed. And I do want to thank staff, a number of people, Camille Terrace, Wes Nebgen, Amy Rodriguez as well, and also Andy McCartney from NewGen, and myself and our hydraulic modeler. We all testified during that hearing, and we also provided countless hours of research and documents to the through our outside legal counsel and to the administrative law judge, who is a SOA judge. So now that the hearing's complete, the parties will submit briefs. The briefs are due early August. I think they're due August 6th. And then mid-August, the reply briefs are due. The SOA judge will take all of that under advisement, and then she will make a recommendation to the Public Utilities Commission. The commission will then, the board will then have to make a ruling on the case. And again, this is for those 2 years. Our outside legal counsel has said he's hopeful for a conclusion and a response from the PUC by the end of the calendar year, but that's yet to be determined. So that's sort of the time frame we're looking at right now.
And Nick, the city's, the numbers on here are the protestants' amounts of refund that they're looking for, as well as the PUC staff of $6.4 million, but we believe the amount due to the complainants is $0.
Zero, that's
Yeah,
correct.
just to make that clear, we don't think we owe large volume protestants anything.
That's correct, yeah. The rates were, as Andy continues to explain, the rates are done in a cost of service basis, and at the direction of the city manager and the council, we moved forward with that process years ago to ensure that each customer class is actually billed their actual costs of service. And we feel strong about our position. I think the team did a fantastic job. All of them performed really well and provide a lot of factual information that shows that the rates are appropriate. So we are feel confident that the decision will be favorable from the PUC later this year.
Great.
If we can move to the next slide.
You have a question, Councilwoman?
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Peter, for clarifying that. Okay, so on that slide, the 6 million, 0.4 is not expected, was not recommended. Why was that?
Oh, yes, Councilwoman. So the PUC, Public Utilities Commission staff reviewed the case and all of the details, and that was their recommendation
Okay,
to the administrative law judge.
but we are not recommending that.
No, we believe strongly that there should be no adjustment made.
Thank you.
Because everything was done
I
correctly.
just want to reiterate that. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Hernandez?
Did the PUC staff provide reasoning behind that 6.4 million? Or, I mean, where'd they get that number?
I can provide you some details. One thing I do want to be careful a little bit about is this still is an active case, so I'd like to be a little careful in talking through the details of that, Councilman.
Okay, all right. If you could let us know.
But we can
A memo or something.
I can talk to you about it. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the drought surcharge exemption fee. I'd like to just give you an overview and a history of this fee in some of the details. So this is a non-mandatory fee. It was established in 2018 by Ordinance 55159. The fee established allows for large volume customers to voluntarily pay the fee year-round to contribute to drought-proof water supply projects. The fee is charged monthly in conjunction with their monthly water bill. The use of the fee is, like I said, for the development of drought-resistant water supply. It's not for operation and maintenance costs of water supply, treatment facilities, or the distribution system. The fee is reserved in a separate account and is to be used for capital costs to develop or acquire a drought-proof water supply. And on the next slide, I have the details and the numbers of that. The benefits of the fee is its consistent annual revenue utilized on our water supply projects. This aspect is beneficial for budgeting and planning. And then the revenue generated, of course, is voluntary and independent of the established rates. So how it works is, in addition to the established rates on the utility bill, participating customers pay an additional 31 cents per 1,000 gallons of water per month. To date, the fee has generated approximately $37.6 million since October 2018. Over the next 30 years, the fee is projected to generate over $350 million. The fee is to be reviewed and adjusted by City Council no more frequently than every 5 years. So essentially every 5 years. The fee is increased upon changes in the Consumer Price Index. The participant, a large volume user participating in that fee, can withdraw from this by a written notice to our city manager. If the city decides to terminate the program, a 5-year notice to the participating customers has to be provided. Upon the termination of the agreement, any unencumbered balance remaining in the account will be returned to the participating customers on a pro rata basis at that time. This is a list of participants in this fee. So as you recall, Corpus Christi Water has large volume customers. They are listed, the participants are listed in the column on the right. They are contributing to this fee. The San Patricio Municipal Water District, one of our wholesale customers, also has large volume customers contributing to this fee, and they are listed on the column on the right. That concludes the slides on the drought surcharge exemption fee, Mayor.
Yes, Councilman Hernandez.
In the budget, we have an estimated of $6 million a year for, is that holding true? I mean, we increased it from 25 cents to 31 cents.
That has historically been the average, but I'm going to ask Camille to step up and give you what's included in this year's revenue projections.
Okay.
Good morning, Council. Camille Harris, Assistant Director. So the fee started at the 25 cents. The average collection was around 4 million, 4.5 million. When the fee increased to 31 cents, the average increase, the estimate increased to $6 million. And again, every time we increase, because it's based on the Consumer Price Index, based on water and sewerage and trash collection, which for the last 5 years has averaged 5% per year. So if that continues, you're looking at in 2030, another 25% increase to the 31 cents.
Okay, so we went to 31 cents for this budget year, right?
last budget year, in 2025.
2025. So it went from 4,900,000 to 5,700,000. So you're
Yeah.
anticipating 6
6
million for
million.
this year.
Yes.
And then the 12.5 million that is transferred to system debt, or the.
It's paid,
debt fund.
yes, it pays for the SWIFT debt, yes.
Is that going to continue for the next proposed budget cycle?
For 27, absolutely, yes. There's, again, 6 million estimated to be generated and $15 million estimated at the end of the year on the fund balance. So $21 million, $13 million payment. So yes, 27 is covered, 28 potentially, depending on thing, but yes, past that, the revenue is not gonna.
Okay, so the intent for this is to cover debt service.
It yes, well, cost of capital investment into new water supply. But for us as a city, the cost is debt issued for the capital project.
Okay, we're not going to spend it directly on the expenses. It's all just going to go for debt service for new water sources. to
At
repay
this
revenue.
point, yes, that is my understanding, and that's what we have been doing in the past. Is
Okay,
related
just
to.
wanted
Yes,
to
sir.
clarify. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Councilwoman Campos?
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so the 37.6 million, I think you stated that we've spent between 40 and 50 million on the Inner Harbor.
Yeah, Inner Harbor is about 46 million.
So-
But you're right, on Tuesday I said between 40 and 50.
Okay, so are we able to transfer that money over to the Inner Harbor since this, as a city, as a whole, is still, moving in that, or has initiated the city to move to that project? I don't know if it's going to, produce or not, but we as a city have completed, have achieved that goal, which is we have tried, right? We're still trying. Can we use that money for that? This 37.6 million for the Inner Harbor
As
that we've
council-
spent
As
now already?
Councilmember Hernandez mentioned before, it is being used for the debt associated with that.
Okay, but, so we are able, even though if it doesn't come to fruition,
Well, let me explain it this way. Debt has been issued, that $46 million that you speak of in capital expenses is associated with the SWIFT debt we already issued. That payment currently is being covered by the drought surcharge exemption fee.
okay?
What happens if council chooses to cancel the project, and what happens with the debt, that is a legal question. At this point, I cannot state legally if we will be able to continue using those funds once that project is canceled. But at this time, that 46 million in actual cash, which is associated with an annual debt payment, is being paid by the drought surcharge exemption fee. That's the $12.6 million Councilmember Hernandez has mentioned.
Okay, and did you mention how much is left on that?
Yes, the balance is $15 million at the end of this year.
15?
15, and then we anticipate another 6 million in revenue next year, so $21 million. But of course, we're going to have another $13 million debt payment. So if you minus 13 out of 21, you have $8 million remaining at the end of 27.
Okay, and just also to remind the public that this drought exemption surcharge fee will be on the ballot for the Fair Water Amendment. And this is what, the public have been trying to support to end these kinds of agreements where we agree to, even if we were to end it, they still have a 5-year notice. That's like unheard of. If we were to end this drought exemption fee.
Which they would, if they remain participating, they would continue to pay into, and we would continue to utilize the funds throughout that 5 years.
No, but again, we were to terminate this fund, they're not going to continue paying the fee for after that, are they? After we end the,
It's a question for them, but the remaining balance, like Mr. Terrace said, we would still have the 5 years to utilize that.
okay.
Councilwoman, can I just add a couple things? Or keep going, I'll talk after you.
Okay. I guess that's all for now.
Okay, yeah, so they, based on the proposition that was submitted, they would, under stages 2 and 3, they would pay a drought exemption surcharge fee mandatorily under the legislation proposed. And then let me just add that the council does need to consider putting this on the ballot. There has to be a vote of the council to place it on the ballot. That's correct, right, Miles? Yeah. Yeah.
And just to be clear, we would still be recouping a lot more if we were to end this, because we would increase the surcharge. The large water users would, in fact, be paying more than the 31 cents.
They would
If
be
we
paying it
approve
more
the-
often
the fees,
potentially.
if we approve the fees.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
So, Peter, are y'all not doing some work on this, right?
Yeah,
To
we
answer
are.
all these?
So we've done some analysis to compare under the current year, if there was no fee being paid versus one being paid, I think in stage 3 is what we looked at.
Correct, yeah.
So we'll go over that with the council, but let me add that on the agenda for next Tuesday, we do have an executive session to go over the legal issues with the proposed amendments that were submitted. So that is scheduled for next week, an executive session.
Great.
There has to be a couple more dialogues with the council and an open session as well, but we'll begin next week in executive session.
All right, thank you, Peter.
Councilwoman Paxson?
Did I hear correctly? So hypothetically, I understand that there's that clause in there that we have to provide a 5 years notice. Did I hear correctly that if that were to be issued, that notice, we would no longer be able to utilize those funds because essentially they're not encumbered at that point. They haven't been received. And so at the point that we're terminating this agreement, we're no longer able to utilize that? Did someone say that?
It's here.
Yeah, the understanding is that we would be able to encumber all of those funds just as long as they're encumbered and spent by the end of that 5-year notice period.
As long as they're spent by the end of the
Yeah.
5-year.
Now, of course, this will certainly be a complicated thing to navigate through, and we'll rely on our legal team to help us through that. But that's the understanding, yes.
Absolutely. I would trust that we would certainly be in communications with our legal team. I just wanted to go over that quick
Yeah.
point. Because I would think that with an $8 million balance at the end of '27, and we have the 40-something million already that's been spent, I would think that that could very easily be assigned.
We would certainly move prudently financially to make sure that the money is handled appropriately. Absolutely.
The money can be used, based on the ordinance that was approved, the funds can be used for new water supply projects, for capital investment. And we know we have several of those underway, so there shouldn't be any problem using that.
That's right.
Right. It doesn't have to be used for Inner Harbor desal. It can be used for groundwater, it can be used for effluent reuse. Yeah.
Councilman Barrera?
I'm not sure that, I was around when they were finishing it up. That's not what I was led to believe back in 2019, because they had just written it. So, we can talk about it later. I'm just making you aware of that.
We went over it, Esteban's here. if we-
Well,
yeah.
I'm not asking for it now. I don't want
I
to
know,
spend
yeah.
any more time on it.
No
I
problem.
would like some further clarification where I can ask questions.
We can do that, yes, sir.
The other thing is, so what are they being exempt from?
So they are being exempt from surcharges that would be approved by this council in stage 2 or stage 3. Changes have already been made to clarify in the drought contingency plan that all customer classes would be paid the applicable surcharges if council approves at level 1 water emergency. To my knowledge, council has never approved any surcharges at stage 2 or stage 3.
Okay, so I guess that's the thing. I don't know that there's any exemption, because I thought we determined that when we did the drought contingency plan.
Yeah, the other point, I completely agree with you, Councilman. The other point is, if surcharges are approved by council, they should be applied to all customer classes and not just one specific customer class. And of course, because some of them are outside the city limits, that adds to more complexity when it comes to the PUC, if it's not being done equal across all classes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So I think we just, for future's sake, we need to clarify that. And I think that's a lot of where the confusion arises. And now we're obviously, the Lord has blessed us with rain, by the nature. And so they're continuing to pay this fee, whereas that drought contingency plan is getting kicked down the road, to a certain degree. So I guess that's the thing. I mean, I know it's semantics to say exemption, but that's my thing. It doesn't seem like there's an exemption.
To date, they haven't been exempt from anything.
Yeah, no one's been exempt from anything,
Yeah, all they've done is voluntarily paid money to the city to support projects.
to the tune of $37 million.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. I just want to try to clear that up, because once again, it's very confusing.
Yeah, it is, and it was cleared up somewhat when the council approved the level 1 water emergency drought contingency plan. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to page 29, and that is our CCW personnel previous additions. Proposed operating budget.
Yeah, so, and you're correct, Mayor, we'd like to go over the full-time positions added since 2018. This is a request that was made at our last workshop. So this is one slide meant to detail that. A couple of things that I talked about previously was the addition of wastewater positions associated with the consent decree. That was management staff, engineering staff at CCW to manage the consent decree. We essentially started a new org for that. It's also the addition of CCW crews to self-perform tasks on the consent decree. We've also added a number of positions in water as well. All of those totals are shown per year on this slide. And I've also detailed some of the positions that we filled in the boxes below, both water full-time positions and wastewater full-time positions. And then, of course, most recently, last budget cycle, this council approved the addition of 16 positions in wastewater. If you recall, those were for operations and maintenance. Our director, Wes Nebgen, has established a maintenance and operation team, not just for our lift stations, but our wastewater treatment plant. Then it also included positions to operate the residential effluent program that currently is ongoing at the OSO wastewater treatment plant. All of these positions are utilized effectively to improve our operations, and I can honestly say I'm proud of the team. Operations continue to improve year over year in both our wastewater fund and our water department as well. And like I said, I had one slide on that.
Mayor, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Is it possible that we can also, I understand full-time staff, but is it possible that maybe at a later date, you can just provide information in terms of if we've had to go out and hire temporary or consultants to be able to do the job instead of full-time? I'm thinking mainly about grant writers and things of that nature, just trying to understand where we're at overall with our ratio of full-time employees to consultants.
Yes, sir, Councilman, I'm taking those notes so we can get back to you. It didn't exactly answer your question, but the example earlier on self-performed savings in the wastewater department, I think partially answered your question, but I'm understanding you're looking of the ratio of full-time employees to consultants and professional service providers and contractors.
Yeah, not necessarily a ratio, just to have some kind of
Comparison.
record, just to show, for example, I'm just hypothetically, if you spend $2.5 million on full-time staff and 300,000 on consultants, something of that nature, just so that we can understand where we're at. Because I think that gives us a true idea of what the total picture is.
You got it. I understand now. We will get that to you.
Okay.
Councilwoman Campos.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, I don't know if this is the point that I had been asking about your communications team and where this aligns with your positions in your department. It's come to my attention that there are at least, you have 4 members in the communications team as part of your staff. Where does that fall into this category, into where you will be explaining to us about your employees? And because, you know, our water ratepayers pay, you know, for this, and we want to make sure that our tax dollars are being used wisely. I'm just, you know, when it was brought to my attention, I'm like, well, I'll bring it up as to why, in this particular case, why would we need 4 communication, a team of 4 in your department?
You're correct. We have 4 full-time employees assigned to communication and community engagement. And I do have some information, some supplemental slides. Maybe we go
Is
ahead
it
and
in there?
show
Because
those.
it was, you just gave us, you know.
Yeah, it's not in there. We put it together last minute, and we're going to go ahead and show it. I'll get you a hard copy as well.
Okay,
but-
but it is going to be part of this. Oh, well, there.
Yeah, I'll show it to you. I'll get you a hard copy as well. We did our best to try and be prepared as possible. One thing that, you know, as the chief operating officer, I can honestly say I rely on that team of 4 tremendously. And they are critical when you're looking at things such as community engagement in terms of community education. They go to restaurants. They help restaurants understand the conservation plan. They met with realtors so that new homeowners can get copies of key information about our water conservation plan. The community outreach is critical. Our residential monitoring program, they answer all of those phone calls, which is critical. They do our school tours, our education and outreach.
And I think I communicated to you that what I'm talking about, like, that's great and, you know, but when it comes to actual communications, when people, and I've complained about this several times, when people call the water department, I mentioned that to you. I mean, I don't know if you've called lately, like I suggested that you should, is there's a long waiting period. So I'm hoping that when it comes to communication, this is what we're talking about. I mean, that's well and good that your staff is going and educating people, but I don't understand, we also have a full communication staff. I don't know how many are in that department, but I would think that you'd be working together. And I was just pointing it out because there's other enterprise funds that don't have this kind of team, and I'm just questioning, you know, the logic.
Sure. Yeah, if I could answer that question, we absolutely work together. And in fact, the 4 individuals at the CCW team is completely integrated under the city communications team. And in fact, it takes much more than those 4 people to handle the community input, education, and outreach. We get tremendous amounts of media requests. There's tremendous amounts of information provided. Additionally, they help support the department itself by promoting, you know, work anniversaries and licensing agreements. All of that is so critical for morale. I just can't begin to expand on how important that team is. I'm going to run through some numbers, and then maybe I know Elise is here too. We can have her answer some questions also. But if you look at just for this fiscal year, there's been 70 press releases that they've written, 133 media interview requests that they support and help us schedule, news stories published. Obviously with water, there's been a lot of news stories and attention. They've put together 90 PowerPoint presentations for this body. That's my team that helps us get this information into a logical and informational manner, so all of you can ingest the information during these meetings. We have phone calls, and this is separate from the utility billing office. So this is primarily 361-826-1600, which is separate from the utility billing office, is separate from 311. Those are calls associated with the residential well program, which we are committed to, and I think we need to continue to maintain that program. Graphics created, community information sessions, we had one last night, that staff was there as well. Water conservation outreach events, 154.
Okay,
It's
so
tremendous.
I see that you put a lot of effort into your slide presentation, defending your positions, and I, commend you for that. I mean, I think we just had this conversation just like 2 days ago, and yet you were able to provide all this, which is great. But again, I would still like to have a more in-depth discussion as to the need for a 4-member team in your communications department. So, thank you.
I completely agree with her statements, and I think that, I don't know if y'all plan on giving us some more. You have, for example, Miss Lindsay Opal, who is contracted for nearly $100,000, and that's extremely important, I guess, but I have an email out to you, Peter, that's not been returned in terms of what exactly, to your point, Councilwoman, what exactly is, how is she building upon the whole team in terms of communication or education or what have you, like exactly what is happening with that? Because I too see a great need for possibly more, I mean, we don't know because it's operational, but people that hold for, I mean, it's a crazy amount of time. And I don't know what's happening there. I think it is probably a lack of manpower, if you will, and then I'm not going to veer off, but I am. You've got code enforcement who has, same kind of issues. You have animal care control off, the ACOs, the officers. So it's always about, right, personnel. And I think this is very valid, what's been said. And I think we really do need a little more in-depth of who's doing what and how are we interacting? And if we're contracting people, how does that work? What exactly do they do? How does it help? So anyhow, I think it's a valid point. Just all to
We'll
say
have
that.
to, Nick, if I can, so we'll have to go over that with the council. It's mutually exclusive service delivery efforts. And so I think what Councilwoman Campos is talking about primarily is long wait times, right? Are you, Councilwoman?
That's a huge.
Right, so that's different than what Nick's 4 people do for communication, completely different. They don't do anything with wait times.
That's correct.
So we'll get that to you, but one important note, a positive note, is that yesterday I made a job offer to Reba's replacement, an assistant director coming from Frisco, Texas.
That's correct, Frisco.
And so she'll be the lead of our billing and phone center. And I told her one of the big challenges you're going to have is addressing this wait time issue, whether we need new software to understand the root cause for why we're getting so many calls. So that's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll go over that with the full council.
Thank you. And for clarification, Peter, I don't think it's, I think we understand those are two different things.
Right.
It's about where we put our resources to improve.
Yeah, we can go over that with you.
Thank you.
And
Go ahead.
if I could, since we've started talking about the utility billing office, those metrics are important to me. We've made it a consistent effort to improve that. I do get a weekly report on the metrics. So for the week of July 6th to July 10th, we had an average of 15 agents on call every day. The average number of calls per agent per day for that week was 27. There are 478 calls that came in. 409 calls were handled during that phone call. We're very proud of that. How we've directed the UBO team is to do your best to handle the call to the best of your ability. Don't say, we'll call you back in a day, or you need to call this number to get that. which means for a little bit longer phone calls, but we do our best to handle them. So 409 calls were completely complete of the 478 calls that were presented. That's 85%. The average phone call with a representative was 11 minutes and 2 seconds. The average queue time, that's the amount of time on hold, which we talk about a lot. So that's improved tremendously. The average queue time for that week was 5 minutes and 36 seconds. You know, a year and a half ago, when we really started digging into it, the average queue time was 15 minutes, and we could see queue times as high as 20. So again, during that week, the average queue time was 5 minutes and 36 seconds. I submit that we've made tremendous advancements in that, and then the other part of that is we continue to work on improvements. We're working with Peter Collins to see a better way to automate some things in terms of using IT technology, and then we continue to try and update the menu, the call-in menu. So I'm really proud of the UBO team. They have advanced tremendously in the last year.
And Nick, I have to say, they do a tremendous job. I think my concern, I think the councilwoman's concern is maybe personnel. I mean, because also automating everything is not necessarily always the answer. People have to speak to a person.
I agree.
So I would be real careful with that. But again, UBO, they do an excellent job. They really do. But it seems like they're short-handed. Or like you said, we need to figure out a way where it's unacceptable for someone to sit on the phone for 30 minutes. So anyway, Councilman Barrera.
Yeah, and I don't want to belabor it. I mean, I know sometimes when I've gone online, you know, some things that we deal with, particularly with, I'd say that from my perspective, insurance business, we go into what we call message center hell, you know, as to where you send it maybe 24 hours. So I just want to say that I want to commend you because we deal with that on behalf of our customers and ourselves, that it's going to take some time to review that. However, sometimes just some anecdotal experiences with other factors, and I think we're exceeding the standard. You know, I handle the finances for my mother, and we had an overpayment of like $11 on a payoff. And between that whole time, I probably spent an hour and a half on hold with Bank of America, you know, and it was really frustrating, you know, and so that happens. And then I guess my other point to that is that I got offered either call in non-peak times, which they inform you when you're put it on hold, or you can have the call returned, you know, and something I found that works well on our company, American Express, is the chat feature. If there's a chat feature where sometimes, where you're logging, where you go online, you know, so I don't know if we have that. I just haven't seen it. And I know that sometimes that process, it's, unfortunately, as bureaucrats, sometimes we don't look at it from a customer service standpoint. And the technology that we're all enthralled in, you know, doesn't necessarily look at it from that perspective. So, but I have to say, in the 8 years I've been here, you've improved tremendously. So just some offer. And if we want to visit offline on some things that, because we're high in technology with regard to our company, and you know, so if you want to have a chat, I'd be happy to offer some insight from a layman's point of view.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay, so now we've got our fiscal year 27 enhancements. And just, I do have action items to talk to a number of you regarding that last slide. Okay, these are the same enhancements we talked about last week, just a little more detail and just reviewing it again. So the first one is the standard vehicle additions for the reclaimed water program. These are positions not associated with the residential program. These are positions associated with the large large projects of this project. As you know, we'll have tremendous assets that will be installed and owned and operated by the city. these positions are required to maintain those assets. The other key component of this is the positions will be funded by the fees through our effluent reuse contracts. So part of that contract is that the city will be reimbursed directly for the costs associated with providing that water. That's on top of the charge itself per 1,000 gallons of effluent water. So some of the things that these employees will do, they'll maintain air relief valves, and other appurtenances along 15 miles of conveyance pipeline. So remember, we've got the conveyance pipeline from Oso to Greenwood, and then Greenwood to the refinery area. They will maintain and operate 4 800 horsepower pumps, 2 100 horsepower pumps, electrical controls, SCADA. We have a 10 million gallon tank that's going in at Greenwood. They will also operate and maintain an additional 3 300 horsepower pumps at the Oso wastewater treatment plant, electrical controls, and various appurtenances. At Oso, there'll be a 0.25 million gallon tank. And then they will also maintain and operate chemical feed and injection associated with reclaimed water at Greenwood and Oso. As part of those contracts, our customers have asked for some additional chemical feed to be added into the effluent. All of those costs will be trued up and covered as part of those contracts by those customers. And again, I just want to reiterate, this is a request for 8 full-time positions and 4 new vehicles. All positions will be funded through the contractual obligation by the customers who are to cover the direct costs associated with operations and maintenance. The next enhancement is the additional position for the UBO team. This is associated with the acquisition of the Rockport Gas Department. We will have approximately 4,700 new customers, and this request is to provide 1 additional employee, but also some professional services associated with Infor to help us with the rate, to develop the rate table needed for these new customers, incorporate that into our billing program. We'll have alignment of ordinances, establishment of any fees that we will have to do with these new customers, and also set up a complete new billing cycle. This cost, because it's associated with gas, but CCW operates the utility billing office, it will be covered through an allocation, the budgeted allocation from the gas department. The Utility Assistance Program, we covered this last week, but the request is for 2 new positions to help administer this program. Currently, the program is a third party, outside third party. The goal is to bring this program in-house so that we can better manage it, and also be able to help our customers directly instead of providing them another phone number to call. But these 2 new positions will help with application intake, eligibility determination. Last week we talked about doing our best to relax some of those requirements to help our customers. Income and ownership verification, review the documents, creation of compliant program files, and then they have to apply the funds to the appropriate accounts. We've got to develop workflows and mechanisms, which is a collaboration between CCW, the finance department, IT, and then we've got to get the word out about these programs with our communications department. The next enhancement request is 5 new full-time positions associated with our groundwater program. It also includes 5 new vehicles. The staff will be required for well operations, water quality monitoring, well field maintenance, pump station operations, the monitoring program along the river, and of course, water quality testing. Specifically, I do want to get into a little more detail. They will operate and maintain the the eastern and western well field within Nueces County. They will also operate and maintain the pump station at the western well field that consists of 7 250 horsepower pumps, electrical controls, and there'll be a 3 million gallon storage tank. They will operate all well pumps at the western and eastern well field, including observing and tracking motor operation and power draw. They will monitor water levels, both within the production wells and the monitoring wells. They will review and calibrate our water quality sensors in the river and also in our monitoring wells. They will conduct pump operational analysis and observe well performance and make recommendations for any needed well rehabilitations or pump repairs. The team will also maintain and calibrate the measurements along the river required for our bed and banks permit. They will service and maintain the natural gas generators at the eastern well field. If you recall, those well pumps are powered by natural gas. There are 2 150 kW natural gas generators there, along with 3 500 kW natural gas generators. Those generators require maintenance. We do daily checks on them. We do fluid checks. There's belt inspections, filter checks as well. We have to get to the wells in case there's an issue, so this team will also maintain the roads in the well field and access. They will make sure that the property in the facility is well managed and taken care of. And the big thing that's important to me, of course, this is the team that manages and facilitates the residential and livestock well monitoring program. They will work with those who have reached out in this voluntary program, obtain water quality testing, assist with water level tracking, and also assist those customers with any issues that they may or may not have with their wells. Of course, regulatory monitoring reporting is a key aspect of this, of these additional 5 positions as well. And that completes, Mayor, our section on the requested enhancements for next fiscal year.
Okay.
At last week's budget workshop, one of the requests was made to talk about the rate revenue generated by customer class, and I'm going to have Camille Terrace come up and walk us through this slide.
Hello, Council, again. So this request was from Councilman Barrera to basically break out the rate revenue generated by the different customer classes. So we did it both for wastewater and water. Obviously, in wastewater, we do not have industrial users. It's just commercial and residential users. So as you can see, and we only service 14 residential customers outside city limits and 22 commercial customers. So those are very minimal revenues. So basically, it breaks out 63% for residential revenue is generated from residential customers, and 36.3% is generated from commercial customers on the wastewater side. When it comes to water, there's a lot more customer classes, well, a lot more. There's 4 main customer classes. So you have your residential, both inside and outside city limits, which you see there in blue and a little bit of red. Then you have the inside and outside city limit commercial customer, which is the green and purple. You have the large volume inside and outside, which is the blue and orange, and then the wholesaler, which is both municipal and industrial users, is that dark blue at $44.5 million.
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next, we'll have Andy McCartney with NewGen talk about the proposed rates. Of course, there's no changes from last week. This is just a review of what was proposed.
Good morning. Andy McCartney, principal with NewGen. So as we saw last week, we proposed our 2027 rates. And for wastewater, wanted to show the bill impact and remind you, as Camille said, there's been no changes. And so for the residential customer that's inside the city limits, typically using 5,000 gallons of wastewater. Remember, their wastewater volumes are determined on a winter quarter average, meaning their water usage for December, January and February, and there is a cap of 25,000 gallons. There's not many residents that even come close to that cap or exceed it. And so currently they're paying $63.52, and last year that was an increase of $4.20 for a 7.1% increase. This year we're proposing that monthly bill to be $65.39. That's an increase of $1.87 or 2.9%. Down below is the typical restaurant for a commercial inside city customer using 20,000 gallons of wastewater a month through a 2-inch water meter. And again, for commercial customers, whatever their actual water use is what they get billed. If they could do any outside irrigation, they would have a separate irrigation meter. So for 2026, they're currently paying $189.67, and last year that was a slight decrease of $1.69 or almost 1%. For this year, we're proposing that monthly bill to be $192.59. That would be an adjustment of $2.92 or an increase of 1.5%. This slide shows the projected wastewater rates, the impact on their monthly bills going out throughout our projection period of 10 years. And so you can see the current for inside residential for the 5,000 gallons of $63.52. Currently, the proposed is $65.39. See how that escalates going out based on our projections of inflation and how those impact the wastewater revenue requirements. And then we also show the outside. Remember, the outside, they don't pay any of the stormwater legacy debt. And so those amounts are slightly lower, and it's only because of the outside stormwater legacy debt that's not built into their monthly minimum charge. And so you see that how that goes out. Currently, they would pay $58.35. We're proposing with our rates that they would pay $60.59, and see how that goes out throughout the projection period. Because as we talked about last week, that stormwater legacy debt, it's got a while to go before that debt is paid off or defeased. The third row going across is that inside city commercial customer taking water through a 2-inch meter, utilizing 20,000 gallons of wastewater a month, and showing that the proposed amount of $192.59 and how that projects out over our projection period of that 10 years. And below is the outside city commercial customer utilizing the same meter size, the same volume of water, paying slightly less because they don't benefit from the stormwater infrastructure, and so they're not paying for that stormwater infrastructure, stormwater legacy debt, and how that goes out throughout that projection period. So there was a request, I believe, from Councilman Hernandez to show that going out, the impact of those rates throughout the projection period. The next slide is on the proposed water rates. Again, a residential customer using 6,000 gallons of water through a 5/8-inch meter. There currently would be a $42.07. Last year, that was a proposed increase of $4.78 for overall percentage increase of 12.8%. So this year, that monthly bill and the rates that we're proposing would be $44.55. That would be a monthly increase of $2.48. On the water side, for a percentage increase of 5.9%. Down below is the commercial customer again, 20,000 gallons, taking water through a 2-inch meter. It's basically a typical restaurant. They're currently paying $236.18. Last year, that would have been a bill increase on a dollar basis of $19.62 for a 9.1% increase. In 2027, we're getting them closer to their customer class cost of service. They've still, in the past, they were still, we were over recovering on the commercial class, so we're getting them as close as possible, and we've done a better job this year of doing that. So their proposed monthly bill amount would be $251.88 for a $15.70 increase or a 6.6% increase. Next would be three separate calculations for our outside city limit large volume customers using a high, an average, or median, large volume customer right in the middle. You've seen that 90 million gallons a month before. That's what we always showed. And then we're showing that low volume user that's considered a large volume customer, and they're using 12 million gallons in a month. So for the highest, using 260 million gallons of water in a month, they would currently be paying just over $1.4 million, and last year that was an increase of $174,000 in a month for a 13.4% increase. This year, because of shifts between raw water and treated water, the cost functions, that they're proposed to pay just over $1.5 million, or an increase on a monthly basis of $67,629.59. That's a 4.7% increase. You see that same percentage increase for 2027 for that average large volume user. Instead of paying just over $500,000, which they currently are, they would pay $524,721. That would be a monthly increase of $23,429.59. Again, that same percentage increase. And then for the lowest volume user using that 12 million gallons, they're currently paying $70,731.63. They would be paying $73,881.22. That's a monthly impact of almost $3,150 for a 4.5% increase. And here's what, on the wholesale, taking water service at the treated water right outside of Owen Stevens, using 50 million gallons of water in a month, they'd currently be paying, utilizing a 16-inch meter, $158,891. And because of the adjustments last year that we have to do, we true up looking back 2 years, according to the contract, they actually saw a decrease of about 3%. This year, they're going to see an increase of just over $4,100 in a month for a 2.6% increase. Again, we have to look back. So for the 27 rates, we had to true up using what we built into the rates, using the budget for 25 with the actual expenditures, and that's by the contract, that we do a treated water true up. We also do a raw water true up as well for those contractual customers. Here's the projected water rates. I'm not going to go through all these, but and it's kind of cramped. Camille did a great job of fitting this for the current year and going out to 2036 all on one slide, but you can see the projections. So as the revenue requirements are increasing, we applied that percentage increase to what we're proposing for 2027. Again, it's really an exercise in math or multiplication. So we just wanted to show those impacts based on the way things are right now, how they project out over the 10-year period. Next year, the 28 rates will be probably much different as the cost shift. There were things that we were doing in our projection for 27 last year that we had no idea about, such as a lot of the raw water supply projects that are being undertaken in 2026. So I'm going to turn this over to Camille. He's going to show you how these monthly bills have changed over the course of time as the rates have changed going back to 2020.
Council already saw this slide, but I just wanted to again bring it up. It's a good snapshot of what has happened over the last 8 years with the rates, and as the consent decree is coming into full enforcement, those rates are increasing, and now with the additions of new supply projects, we're going to see the similar trend on the water side. We did not have major increases in the past, but we're getting, and that's why Andy had that 10-year projection, just to, be transparent and to show that the rates do have an upward trend. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Camille. Councilman Hernandez.
Stormwater was part of the water department or under the water fund initially. Mm-hmm. How is it that you're accounting for stormwater debt in wastewater?
It was part of the utility department, so we broke it up between the two utilities. It was CCW. The legacy debt remained with us, so we had to find to not overburden one or the other rate. We
Okay, so when you
split
say utility department, that also includes natural gas. Did storm?
No, water utility department.
So just water?
Water utility department, yes.
Okay, so you're including wastewater as a water utility?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay, that's how you're putting it in wastewater as well. So you're separating it in half, or is it?
50/50, yes. Well,
50/50?
but
Well, you have a lot
next
more,
year.
you have a
next
lot more revenues in water than you do in wastewater. About almost twice as much, right?
100 and, yes, well, in 2027, it will be twice as much, yes, because of the additions of the new water supplies, yes.
Okay, so I mean, if you have half the revenues and you're putting half of the debt over there,
I mean, we thought it was 50/50, and that's our thing. Again, council thing, it would cause an increase on the water rate, obviously, if we had to shift more of that 50% that is currently being paid by wastewater, because it's fully integrated right now in the rate.
well, how much more are the rates for wastewater than there are on water on a typical bill?
How much, I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Okay, your expense to the ratepayer for wastewater is much higher than it is for water.
Currently, yes.
Right, so you're still putting 50% of that debt into wastewater, even though you have half the revenues, and the cost on wastewater is much higher.
Yeah, and again, we could adjust it, so basically it will be shift, there will be a decrease in wastewater, and there will be an increase on the water rate.
Okay,
I mean, at the end of the day, the impact to the customer is basically the same.
okay, you also have on your projection for rates, significant increases in 2029, 2030. Is that under the assumption of the seawater desal facility in the Inner Harbor cost? What is that from?
That is when the full debt of the new water supply projects, the 1.1 billion, comes into effect, and additional operating costs.
Okay, so when you say 1.1, it's just on the ones that we've so far approved?
Yes, the 1.1 billion.
Nothing that we haven't approved?
No, there is no, the only thing in the rate model that we included for desal is basically just, it's a net zero. There's a water debt for the SWIFT, which then gets zeroed out by the by the drought surcharge exemption. That's the only thing. There is no operating, there's no future debt for desal included in this rate. So the impact that you're looking at is basically the 1.1 billion for the new wells, Evangeline, the conveyance line, the RO, the effluent lines.
Okay, some of those projects are going to be funded and implemented before 2029.
It's the debt issuance. So I showed last week, we have that 3-year debt issuance schedule. That is the thing, so it's.
I get that. So you're assuming that we're not going to actually spend that money until 2028, so it doesn't hit until 2029?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's subject to change?
Absolutely, and as Anthony said, please, these projections are snapshot in time, right? Last year's projections, we did not anticipate any of these 1.1 billion of projects, right? So if things change, you know, we're showing it best effort at current moment, but yeah, anything can change as the years. I mean, the only thing we know as of right now that I feel more confident with is that the rates will have an upward trend in the years coming, be it before from desal or from the 1.1 or any combination of thing, there will be an upward trend because we're adding new resources. There's also an upward trend with the improvements in ONS, the chemical feed, the chemical removal of the train, the rail carts and replace it. So there is an upward trend both in CAP and thing. But if things change year over year, we update these. This is the best snapshot projection we can do right now.
Okay, and I noticed you left out the raw water increases on this.
It's a combined, the water, so the 10-year projection is the bill which includes the raw water in it as well.
No, I understand but you didn't break it out individually as what the raw.
Oh, no, we did not. No, usually we show the bill impact. We don't break it down into the three categories of the bill. The minimum,
Well, the reason I say that is broken out in your utility bill, so.
yes, and, I mean, I do have that, if we could bring up the presentation. Oh. Oh, that's way behind. Oh. We
Maybe
did
not.
I don't have it on this one. I can provide, it was in the last presentation. The breakdowns of the minimum changes, but we will have that next week as part of the presentation for the actual rates. It will show the changes in the minimum, changes in raw water, and changes in the volumetric.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman Vaughn.
Good job again on the presentation. Let me ask you this, because we've had our citizens, we've had industry, we've had everyone conserving on water. How has that affected the city's revenue?
Well, a big portion of last year's increase, the over $4 in water, was due to the decrease in volumes. So, you know, if you have a dollar to recover and you have 1,000 gallons, right? It's simple math. It's one divided by the other, right? If one of these drops, it causes a change. So drop in volumes basically causes an increase in the rate. So the more water we can sell, the cheaper the rates are. If you conserve and you sell less water, well, my costs are not coming, well, CCW's costs are not coming down, you know, if we sell a little bit less water.
That's right.
So the rate has to go up.
Okay, how many acre feet are we going to have to get before we can say you can water your lawns and get out of this drought? How many more acre feet do we need? Because we know there's a lot of water coming down. There is. And they're going to fill up those reservoirs. I don't know how much, but they're going to fill them up. So how much longer before we can tell our citizens, you can water your grass?
It's a great question.
Because we should be close to that. So I'm hoping you're positive today on that and telling us that that water is coming down.
And I'm going to do jazz hands.
Yeah,
I'm going to
good,
do jazz hands
good.
right now
I've never
because I
seen that
think
with you.
that,
Go ahead.
we were talking about it earlier. I have not seen this in a couple of years. We can all look at
Yeah.
June, July, where we're having these impacts to our watershed. It is exciting. It's something to watch. My team at Choke Canyon and Lake Corpus Christi are observing the flows come down. Right now, we're looking at, on the Nueces River, just above Uvalde, in that area, we're seeing about 101,000 CFS. And just to do some math, so like 10 CFS is equal to 6.4 MGD. So there's quantities of water coming down. At the same time, as an South Texas and Concho Water Master in charge of the surface water rights in 50 counties in South Texas, went through the 2011 drought, came out of it in 2013, seen these happens across. I still want to be cautious, but I want to be excited. So we're seeing it come down. We're slowly seeing it get to Asherton, which is along the Nueces River, still way, way far away from Lake Corpus Christi, but it's showing that it's moving. Right now, that gauge is only showing 51. So you have 101,000 CFS. You've got to get through the Edwards recharge zone that hopefully it doesn't take a lot. Moves through, gets to Asherton in about 3, maybe 2 days. We'll start seeing it hit that, and then maybe 2 to 2.5 weeks, it will flow into Lake Corpus Christi. Good things and bad things. Lake Corpus Christi is at 30%, so there's room, right, to capture this water coming off the Nueces. So that's a great thing. One of the better things, and why I did jazz hands at the beginning, is what we're seeing on the Frio River, the dry Frio, and the Hondo, Seco, the Sabinal, and as I mentioned, the dry Frio. So those rainfalls starting Tuesday, when that was happening, we didn't get a lot yesterday, but this morning we're starting to see some rainfall in that area. So you had a lot of flood happen on Tuesday, and then it kind of came down, and it's kind of coming back up a little. Maybe it will continue the rest of this day. That will be a great thing, and we'll see those flows then get to the Frio River near Darby. So that flow right now, the Hondo Creek is running at 451. The Seco is 538 CFS. Sabinal is running about 1,020 CFS. And the Dry Frio is the big one at 38,400 CFS. So all that again is going towards one point on the Frio River at Darby. And right now, as this is morning about 7:30, 8 o'clock, it was at 3,000. Just checked a little while ago, it was bumping up to 3,500. So at the end of the day, we're starting to see that. We hadn't seen that in the last 4 to 5 years, like I was talking about at the beginning. That's why I'm excited. I can see it come down. We have room in Choke Canyon. So Choke Canyon capacity is 600,000 acre feet. That's huge. There's a lot of room. Right now, the capacity of Choke Canyon is at 8.1%. So again, there's room to capture it and then slowly release it through the Frio River into the Nueces River and to Lake Corpus Christi. So we have opportunities. At the same time, I'm looking at all this. The team is out there physically on the ground, talking to the communities, talking to the people to make sure that we're being aware of a safety situation on the dams, and then all of our downstream homeowners and individuals.
This is great news for the city because we do have water coming down. It's all positive. And I hope that in the next 2 weeks, we can have a conversation about watering our grass.
Yeah.
Nick, I mean, not Nick, but Esteban, remind us of the drought contingency plan today. What level do we have to get at to get out of stage 3 or stage 2?
So to your first question was, when can we water our grass? So it's about that 30%. So when we get above 30%, we can go into stage 2.
Combined level, right?
Combined level capacity of Lake Corpus Christi and Choke Canyon.
So we're at 15% today?
Yes.
And do you have any predictions on will we get above 30%?
If we get this rain, we get into Choke Canyon, all that goes into Choke Canyon because of the size, I can see us kind of approaching that. So 3 to 4 weeks.
But it does take time,
those
right?
questions,
Right.
but I still want to be cautious. I still want to be concerned to look at because that's just the nature and what we have to do. But it's exciting. It's something that we haven't been able to talk about in, again, 3
Okay, so it's
4
going to take, Esteban, it's going to take a couple of weeks, all right? That may be hard for people to understand, but it's a big distance.
Yes.
So it's not days, it's a couple of weeks, but we're monitoring it each day. Once we get to 30% or above and combined, then we drop back to stage 2. Is that correct?
That's right.
And that is watering every other week
Yes.
under the current plan. So we'll be providing council weekly updates or updates as warranted as we see changes at some of these gauges. Some of our partners like John Michael, who knows the area well, is sending video footage and a lot of graphs. We talked to former Councilman Smith last night. He sent me some information as well. So it's not only Esteban's team that we're relying on, city staff, it's others out there that have worked for the city or were council members that are also sharing information. There's a lot of video. There is some unfortunate flooding, so we send prayers and thoughts to those that might be impacted in Kerrville and other areas. But we'll monitor this water. It is great news, and we won't know, though, the final result for a couple of weeks still.
That's right. This is going to be it's a marathon, guys. It's not a race, a 50-yard line race. It's a marathon to see where this water goes and how much water gets into our reservoirs and what's the situation. Yesterday, I was at a meeting in San Antonio with the TCEQ talking to multiple individuals in their leadership. We were all watching this. We're really excited about that. At the same time, other team members were doing dam safety training in Austin and on webinar, and they're all talking about this. So this is a good thing. This is something we hadn't, again, seen in a long time. But we still it's going to take a little while. We can talk about it. We can show you more graphs and where the gauges are so we can all track it as it moves down.
And Esteban, this clearly goes to show, all of those National Weather Service calls that we're on, they don't tell us what has happened. So we can't always rely on what they say, because ultimately, it can rain when it rains, and it has. Like you said, never have we seen this in this part of the year. And we've been told all this time, it's not going to rain, it's going to be dry, and the complete opposite has happened. So I think that's a good, we never know, but it's a good thing. Excuse me. The other thing is, I'm going to go ahead and ask y'all for the meeting of the 28th to come back with a full report. You'll know something. It may not be 100%, but it may. But we'd like to see on the 28th that you come back with the exact where we are. Hopefully it is approaching 30%, because we do need to allow our residents to water their lawns and to be able to pull back. And so obviously that is the hope. Yes.
Yeah, Mayor, I just wanted to say, so on the 28th, we're going to provide an update to our water supply dashboard so we can incorporate this into a bigger conversation, so that makes sense. And then what I'll do in my weekly memo, I'll have a weekly update sort of on the situation. As Esteban said, it's going to take weeks for the water to travel, so I'll provide more detail in my weekly memo also.
But the 28th, you can give us where we are, even though it's not fully known, and maybe, obviously, the next week or two after that as well.
We'll give you a current status on the 28th, and
Perfect.
along with our update to our
Right.
water supply dashboard. Yes.
Yeah. And Mayor, can I just add two more things? One, we did go over this with the National Weather Service. They did predict it, and like Esteban, they were cautious on how much we'll get down here is to be determined, but they showed us the forecast this Monday, and so we knew about this rain event.
Well, weeks prior, Peter.
What's that?
Weeks prior, there was no light at the end of the tunnel, and so.
Right, well, it's still to be determined, so.
No, I mean,
but,
weeks
yeah.
prior on calls that we've been on.
Well, right, I mean, this rain.
Well, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying, the point is it is a gift from God that it rains.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, anyone can tell you, you're not going to get better, but you could get better, right? If you had some health issues.
Yeah.
Same thing. They could tell us it's not going to rain, and those were the reports we were getting, and it rained. And
Yeah.
so it's just a good thing for the
It
whole
is, we
community.
agree on that. And then one other thing, we're seeing comments already on releases, environmental releases. Last night at our town hall on water, we explained to the community, we do have a request into TCEQ to give us a one-time reprieve, because once the reservoirs do hit 30% combined, we have to do environmental releases over the spillway, or the salt barrier dam, as we call it. So that has not been, TCEQ has not given us a ruling on that request yet, or, a variance yet. So we are required to do releases for the environment, and Nick and Esteban can talk more about it, but those may come if we get to that 30% or greater. We're not doing it right now, but if the two western reservoirs reach 30% or better, we'll have to follow the agreed order schedule for releases. But it's important to note, I sent a request in to TCEQ to give us at least a one-time variance. We know Representative Denise Villalobos has asked that the three entities that are involved in that agreed order work with TCEQ to potentially rewrite it or reissue it or to modify it, and that work's begun. But between then and now, we did ask for this one-time reprieve from TCEQ, so we'll wait to hear from them. And then finally, as the waters do reach the reservoirs, we will cut back or turn off our New ACES groundwater program completely. And we did that the last rain event that took place. So for the well owners that are following us, once waters either in that watershed of the river elevate or reservoir levels improve, we'll make adjustments to include completely turning off the New ACES wells that we control. So I just want to add all those points.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilwoman Paxson.
Thank you. Mr. Zanoni, you said it right, as we, of course, are being so thankful for the recharge of our water systems. We do, I hope, want to keep those other communities in prayer, because it's a little different perspective for some of our other Texan neighbors. So I do want to take a minute and echo that sentiment. But thank you. Nick, you said over a month ago, you gave us that projection as we had gotten some rain in May, and your projection said, we know that this season that we're going into, we've come out of a 5-year dry spell, and we're going into a different, is it El Nino or La Nina?
It's El Nino.
Okay, I
Yeah.
always get it backwards.
me
And
too.
that we should expect it to be a lot more moist coming into this year. And your projections at that time were kind of worst case scenario if we don't get water. But praise God that we're in a conversation where the opposite has happened. So my point was, in discussions with former Councilmember Greg Smith last night, what this could be is like 100-year flood, right? This is so much water. And I do think there's a potential that we see the lake fill. So I hope that, and I know that this is stuff that they do all the time, but we're being very proactive in how we're protecting the water as that lake is filling upstream as well. And so, Peter, I would almost say, as we look into the immediate next 2 weeks, begin those preparations of what does it look like to do a clawback on our drought stage? What does that trigger point look like for the first, maybe second week of August even? And begin to have those discussions. But so with these rate increases, back on page 45, Mr. Zanoni, this was exactly what I had spoken to you about, being very intentional with our intergovernmental relation efforts, going to our state and federal delegation to say, you know, let's apply for those funds, let's look at those grants that are available, look at the different things that we can apply to this, because we see that 1.1 billion that we invested to protect our water supply is a very real number, and it's coming online. And so being able to proactively seek those resources, because we're not supplying water, you know, exclusively for the very special 500,000 people that make up this 7-county region, but we're supplying to an incredibly enormous footprint of impact through the different industries that we touch. And so having that story to tell to our state and federal delegation so that we can say, you know, we're looking down a 2 to 3 year timeline where this is going to really hit us. And this is the time now more than ever that we could appreciate that help. And Mr. Zanoni, maybe as part of those efforts, as we do these updates, maybe you could include, you know, these are the specific grants that we're looking at to cover this 1.1. These are the efforts, these are the trips we're making, these are the delegates we're talking to, something like that, so we can keep, turn that conversation in that direction.
Right, correct, yeah, we'll see, we'll see how we can incorporate that into NIXI, the weekly memo, or the water briefings. So we have applied for several grants, including this new $1 billion that's available from the state, and it's for some water distribution lines, which may not be part of this, but it's still part of the system. So we'll begin to highlight those. We know a few weeks ago, I guess this week, Nick, at City Council, we applied for we had 2 grants, and so as they are attributed to the $1 billion and the 76 million gallons of water, we'll make sure we highlight that for the council and the region.
Okay, I appreciate it, and we're looking forward to August.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, Nick, for this presentation. You guys have put a lot into this, and this last 18 months, you guys have carried a lot, so we can't thank you guys enough.
Councilman Hernandez.
Mayor?
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Councilman Roy.
Yes, very good presentation. I had one question for Peter. When you're asking for the exception, as far as with the TCQ and having to release water, what's the time frame on that? You said it was like, I think you indicated it was a one-time request.
Right.
Is there a period of time? Is it 6 months? Is it, can you give a little more detail in terms of the length of time that it would, if approved, it would allow us to withhold releasing that water?
Right, Esteban's going to answer that question. We have the answer from TCQ on the timeline. Go ahead, Esteban.
Yes, sir. So the timeline on that would be, if we were to request a temporary, it would be for 120 days.
6 months, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
4 months.
4 months, sorry.
4 months.
We'd have a 4-month duration to not do the releases, so long as
As long as it was granted,
Yeah.
and then we could apply for or request a new temporary, but would have to be different than the first one.
Right.
So you have to be strategic on when you are going to request it, because the clock starts, and if you don't get any
Okay.
rainfall.
Yeah.
Good,
We've
yeah,
been-
you read my mind on that. And so that should also give us sufficient time to be able, hopefully, to get an answer in terms of long-term solution, as far as releasing the water.
Well, that effort, he said, we're talking about, Esteban, to look at the agreed order and permanently change it.
So,
That's going to take a little longer than probably 4
So will
months.
it,
yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Councilman.
no, you're fine. What's the estimated time frame that would take? How long could it take before we get a permanent answer?
That would take significantly longer time because you would have to work with multiple groups pursuant to the agreed order. So it's just not the three permittees, the City of Corpus Christi, the NRA, Nueces River Authority, or the City of Three Rivers. It has to do with also the other 10 or so different organizations that sued the city for not abiding by that special condition number 5 within the Choke Canyon water right. So then there is a group called the NEAC that would have to organize, then have to they would have to debate and determine what would be any changes made, and all those changes would have to be agreed to, and then move through the TCQ process, and then go through a whole legal process to determine any changes to the agreed order. So it's not, I wouldn't want to stand here and say it would take a year. It is going to be a process.
Okay, all right, I think that's good. I think the public needs to understand that. But I think there's a lot of people out there, at least in conversation I've had, think that, okay, we can get an answer in 2 weeks, and that's just not the case.
No, that's right.
Okay.
Thank you. Great presentation.
Councilman Hernandez.
Okay, I just want to kind of, per our drought contingency plan, we go into stage 2 when we drop below 20%, which we're currently at 15% as of today, right? So if this water gets, in order to get back into stage 2, we have to get above, stage 2. We have to get above 30%, which is above the trigger point for stage 3. So per our drought contingency plan, it's 10%, it's 10% above where it triggers in to go into that. So I just, but to that point, if we hit 30%, well, then the water releases start again, right?
And that's, again, we'll have those conversations like city manager was saying. We've already reached out to TCQ to try to ask for a temporary.
Right. Have we engaged with our local research institutes like HART and the Texas Marine Science Institute about the data collected while we were not releasing? I mean, we didn't release for about a year, right? So I know it's a small sample within the, 100 years, right, of releases, or however long we've released, or how long it flowed into the Nueces Bay, but at least it's something as to see what the condition of Nueces Bay was over that time frame.
That is correct. So we have engaged, we've been approached by the Coastal Bend Bay and Estuary Foundation to start those discussions and looking at the data. At the same time, they look at it from a different point of view. And so we need to make sure we have all the information and work with our partners to come to a conclusion that would benefit everybody. So this goes back to the process of communication and working through the NEAC, the groups that are both our environmental friends and our needs for our water supply.
At the very least, to reduce the amount of releasing of water from what it is to a reduced amount. At least we can get that point. At least have some wins. I looked at there's an app called Raindrop that kind of monitors rain in particular areas over, and if you look at it, there are some areas that have had above 20 inches of rain in our upper watershed. So for us, let's hopeful, knock on wood, right, that we get a majority of that water run off into our reservoirs, both the Frio and Nueces River. And I'm praying that we can have that. So what is that going to do at our water dashboard? When is the next update?
Like we were describing on the 28th.
On the 28th. So we probably should see a lot of this water coming in by Monday into our reservoirs. Right?
And That's right. And so, again, it's going to be a gradual, so we may not see everything by the 28th, but that's a good thing, because again, like I said, this is a marathon. As that water moves through and we're collecting it and the reservoirs fill up, that will be on the next update.
Okay, so I want to make sure that we understand that this is just a reprieve, right? This isn't going to stop what we're doing in terms of looking for new water. And making sure that we have a more secure thing and not just rely on rainwater or surface water. So even though we're getting some of this water into our reservoirs, we shouldn't stop what we're doing in terms of trying to get those other water sources and diversify our water supply. So I don't want that to, from my perspective, it's not something that I would stop what we're doing in terms of trying to continue to get new water supply.
Yeah, we are absolutely committed to diversifying the water supply. That's the path forward.
Yeah. Councilwoman Paxson?
Thank you. Councilmember Hernandez, my point earlier about looking at August is because if my thoughts is if we could see the lake fill up, if that gets close to 100, even if it doesn't recharge, let's say at worst case scenario, it doesn't touch Choke Canyon, which is 8. We're still looking over 54% combined. So that's where my statement came from. And so, yes, of course, I agree. We would never pause any of these other efforts, but to be able to restore some service or some of how the user, our community can use water, to be able to restore that because we've seen that recharge. That was my point. 54 would be a comfortable spot.
Okay. Nick, thank you, and thank you for for your team and for the great presentation and all of the information. This is going to conclude our water workshop. It is 11:25. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.